To describe the event in one word, without a swear word, would be inspirational.
My name's Dani Wallace and I am the Queen Bee. I grew up on the council estates of Preston and I was furious when I found out that the Queen was born the Queen. So I set about creating the I Am the Queen Bee movement to help more people show up, wise up and rise up and reclaim their birthright to success. There's this quote that goes, aerodynamically, bees should not be able to fly. Their little wings shouldn't get their fat little bodies off the ground. But bees don't care what humans think is impossible. Bees fly anyway. So I wanted to create a space and a community where we can do what bees do when they're building something new. And that's festoon and link arms and help each other.
Community is really important, knowing that when people are talking about their experiences, it's not just you, you're not alone, there's other people that resonate and there's other people that you can help.
It's just about soaking up the atmosphere and being part of a community that supports each other.
Be Inspired is a 6-month mastermind that culminates in the most incredible personal and business development event where you take to the stage and share your mission and your business message.
It's been amazing. I have never done anything like this. Never ever thought I would, but because of Dani, I have. And I have genuinely loved it.
This is the place to be. It's so inclusive and actually it's there to help you mentally, physically and emotionally.
There's nowhere else where you'd ever feel so held and so safe.
I would love for you to come and get involved with Be Inspired so we can get you using your superpower hidden in plain sight, your voice, to take up the space you deserve in the world with your mission and your business. I can't wait to hear from you.
And with the swear word, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as inspirational.
Good morning, everybody. I pressed the wrong button. I pressed the roll credits on the Be Inspired ad, but considering it has been a big week in the world of Be Inspired, particularly as an event, I'm not sad about it. I'm not sad about it. Good morning, everybody. Come on in and come and get a cuddle. It is Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to Wise Up Wednesday here on the show, Wise Up, Rise Up Show with me, your host, Dani Wallace. It's nice to be back in the studio. It's been a bit of a higgledy-piggledy few weeks. I'm popping some makeup on whilst I am talking to you. We've got Emma Holt is working out at the same time as listening, so we're all multitasking this morning. But yes, it is Wise Up Wednesday today, and I do have a guest for you. But before I invite our guest onto the show, I am going to pop a little bit of slap on and update you on where we were at, on where we are at, on what has been happening, what's been popping, what I've been doing. Again, I have been a veritable UK trotter. Yesterday saw me in That There London. It was an absolute nightmare in terms of travel. Like the event itself that I went to yesterday was phenomenal. But oh my goodness, the rail strikes were felt heavily in the city yesterday. So I went down to go and stay at my incredible friend Deep Badgewell. Lots and lots of you know Deep. She's fantastic luxury sales consultant. And sales coach, and one of my very, very best friends. I was like, Dee, there's going to be rail strikes. I'll come and stay at your house. And she's like, yeah, of course. We're like sisters. She's like, yeah, come and stay. It'd be nice to see you. So I drove down the night before thinking, right, I'm doing the right thing. It only take me an hour to get into Mayfair is where it was. It's very posh. Can't wait to tell you about it. So it'll take about an hour to get. 3 hours it took me to get from Deep's house. It should have taken me an hour max, 45 minutes, an hour max, what it normally takes me to get into the city. 3 chuffing hours. So I was late to the start of the bloody thing. So what was it? It was called the Luxury Plus Summit. So the Global Law Post is an international media outlet specifically working in the luxury sector and around law. Like there are a bunch of lawyers and a media publication that's centered around law, specifically in the luxury sector, wealth creation, wealth management, and all of that sort of stuff. But actually, for the fashion industry, the design industry, and all of that, that was kind of who the event was targeted at. And I don't ask me how. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how I get myself into these scripts. Found myself with an invitation to this phenomenal event. Now, for those of you that know me relatively well or have known me for a number of years, sort of pre-COVID, one of the things that I like to do, and one of the ways in which I enjoy growing my network is by networking. And I don't just mean in the sort of the standard way that you and I would maybe think as SMEs. I'm networking, like maybe join the BNI or maybe Shout Network or 4N or something like that. It's actually networking on a different level. So going to events that I've never been to before, going on my own. So I'm forced to speak to people, entering into different audiences that I wouldn't normally access sort of via the normal channels, are things that I actively do to extend my network, to extend the mission and business that I have. And I think what a lot of us do, particularly in the online space and particularly in the small business community, is that we will find a community and we will stay there. And that's great, but doesn't help with the longevity of the growth of your audience. So what will happen is, no matter how brilliant you are, if you only stay in one little corner of the world, you're relying on somebody else to grow that audience in order for you to have access to other people, right? For other people to know who you are. If you don't actively go and extend your network, eventually that audience will dry up, you will stagnate, and your business will not survive. So it's imperative that if you are in business and you are wanting to make sales, you wanting to extend, you wanting to reach more people, you need to go and take your product to market. And one of those ways to do that is by intentional networking, seeking out places that are relevant to you, even if fire a curveball, right? So I'm a public speaking coach. So I've got to work out, how am I going to make going to this place beneficial for me, but also in service of the room. I don't want to go to an event with the expectation of taking from the room. That's never the intention that I go. I always go with the intention of sharing IATQB and the Fly Anyway Foundation. And then who in the room can I help? Who in the room can I connect? All of that sort of stuff. And this is a luxury summit. And I'm not talking about luxury like, I don't know, what's like faux luxury, like a nice smelly candles and stuff. We're talking real high-end luxury, expert craftsmanship. We're talking about, in fact, the conversation itself yesterday was, what is luxury now? I'm going to have a whole conversation with you about this on Friday. But what I wanted to kind of tell you was, I went out of my way yesterday, out of my comfort zone, out of my friendship group on purpose, which feels weird because what a lot of us do is we keep ourselves small by staying where we are, because that might have already felt like a piece of growth, like getting into an online community, coming into the Hive or something like that. Will have already felt like, well, I've already networked. I've already grown my network. What now? The problem is, you will run out of people to share your message with. You have to actively grow and engage your audience. There's lots of ways to do this. You can do this by going into people's groups, making your presence felt and all of that sort of stuff, which is okay, but you're not really going in service, and that's a slow game, especially if you're not surrounded with loads of your ideal customer or loads of your ideal client. You have got to go and seek out places where people don't know you. And the reason why I help people in the way that I do with things like Be Heard and speaking about your business, I'm just going to speak to my incredible guest in just a second about her journey to speaking about what it is that she does. And she will admit that she's a work in progress with regards to this, but finding out different places to be in order to speak. So the first job is, when you're networking, is getting somewhere, right? Is going somewhere and saying, flags in the floor, this is what I do. And then you might do some sales or income generating activity within that community or within that network. And great, that will generate you a flurry of sales, right? But if you are not actively extending your network, that will dry up and your business will not survive. So you need to go where two things. And this is a really, dare I say it, cost-effective way of this is a really cost-effective way of accessing mentorship as well, which is exactly what I did right at the very beginning. I make no bones about that. But a real cost-effective way of accessing mentorship and learning is by going to places where you're not the smartest person in the room, where you don't know everything there is to know about that particular subject. So for me, as well, you know, I am not hugely well-versed or bloody flying here, well-versed or initiated in the luxury plane, right? Admittedly so. So going somewhere like Gucci and going and buying a bag, that buying experience is not something that I've experienced firsthand. And so when everyone in this room is having these conversations, I've got to work out, how can I enter the conversation and make it relevant or make myself relevant in this room? And it's very easy to be intimidated. Again, this is going to be the topic for Friday's show. So if on Friday you want to come and learn about networking and what I did yesterday, please do come and join me. It's going to be a really interesting one. But what I want to say to you is that yesterday I put myself really, really out there on a limb, out there, out of my comfort zone. And what I came away with was some phenomenal contacts, with my face known in a particular sector that I wouldn't have otherwise been known. And that is by allowing myself to take up space. And so when you are considering what you need to do in order to create sales, in order to generate income, you need to have a look at your audience. What is happening in your audience? Are you growing your email list? Are you growing your social media? Are you growing who you know in real life? Are you growing your little black book of contacts? And if the answer is no, and your sales are stagnating, that's probably why. So, little bit of food for thought. A great way to network is to get to some events, right? To get to things like Be Inspired, to get to things like the Summer Swarm, to get in the room where it happens. I was just saying, talking about networking, Michelle Thomas, I still want to join you. Michelle, I still want to join you at the Swarm in Manchester. I'm still on my own, so I'm coming there. I'll message you for booking details. Do, my darling. We've got people booked on. There's just a few places left in Manchester. So I really learned, who is this? I really learned the hard way that staying in the same circles won't help you grow your business. I'm realizing this now, Dani. You have to be brave, though. You do. You absolutely do. Google is your friend on this one. Eventbrite is your friend on this one. And allowing yourself to make that time, take that time out of your diary to go and put yourself in those rooms. It gave me food for thought for myself for a TEDx yesterday. So I'm going to apply for a TEDx based on something that I constructed off of the back of it's Emma. It's based off of the back of the conversations that I were in the room with yesterday. I actually created a TEDx that I know is really, really strong. So yeah, allowing yourself to go out of context, allowing yourself to be in the room, not standing in the corner and being a wallflower is really, really important. Having a great asset like a network is super important in order to grow your business. But there are other assets that you can create as well to share your business and your mission message. One of them, of course, is having a series or a Rolodeck of talks, of topics on which you can speak in order to call people to action and call people to you. Another one of those assets is a book, which takes me nicely. Did you like that, Charlotte? Nicely into the segue to our incredible guest this morning. I've had the absolute honor of working with this person now for on and off for about 12 months or so, and seeing this person sort of grow and develop and take her own journey in her own way has been really, really inspiring. So to talk to us about her forthcoming book, to talk to us about what it is that she does, and hopefully to give you some insights into the work that she does around specifically fertility and nutrition, please welcome to the show at Rise Up Show, the very glorious and beautiful and lovely and sexy and gorgeous Charlotte Grand. Good morning.
Hello, Dani. How are you?
I am so good. I am so happy to see your face. How are you?
So good to see you. I haven't seen you on Zoom for ages.
I know. And do you know what? What I'm finding is, certainly with the show Rise Up show, it's a great and very selfish way for me to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
This fly's really buzzing around and doing my head. There's nothing I can do about it. I've got a little mate joining us on
I've got
the
one
show
as well. So
have you? She's getting in because it's the summertime. But Charlotte, before we get into the reason why you're on the show this morning, is a very specific reason why you're on the show this morning. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So I'm a fertility nutritionist and I am founder of the Fertility Kitchen and also now author of the Fertility Kitchen. And I support women who are wanting to conceive. So that could be women who've just started trying, they're just starting to think about having a baby, but also women who are struggling to conceive and those who are navigating assisted conception as well.
Right. So for people that are going through, say, IVF or what have you, and the interesting thing is, and this is for anybody that's trying to conceive as well, isn't it? I know it's specifically sort of for women in terms of how you've grown your brand and all of that sort of stuff, but your concepts speak to anybody that's trying to conceive, any families that are trying to conceive. And we often forget and negate just how important nutrition specifically is in terms of the building blocks of our very bodies and how it works. And I think that's one of the things that I learned and have been learning whilst I've been working with you. So from a visibility point of view and from a business strategy point of view, we've been working together for quite some time now. But one of the things that I get to do as part of my job is learn from my clients. And one of the things that you share is that really connecting in with those building blocks that we put into our faces, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with nutrition, you often don't necessarily think about it until something goes wrong. So maybe, and whether that be trying to conceive or another issue, it's the sort of typical, we don't necessarily make time for our wellness until we're forced to.
Right.
And so that tends to be a time that people are looking to optimize their nutrition.
Absolutely. Because if conception doesn't happen in the way that we would expect it to, so and the difficulty is that if we think about things like miscarriages and we think about things like, struggling to conceive, there are more people that go through this than probably we actually realize, because it's still considered in some circles taboo or a very emotional topic to walk through. And of course, if you're trying to conceive and you're struggling, having that month-on-month conversation, like, are you pregnant yet? It's hard to have. So it ends up being a very private struggle. So to talk about fertility in this way and actually looking at the things that we can do to improve our fertilities is really, really helpful, especially to those that are having a struggle. Charlotte, tell me what brought you to doing this work.
Yeah, so like a lot of people who work in the fertility space, it was my own fertility journey that kind of led me to look into it and to become a nutritionist. And so my husband and I started trying to conceive shortly after we got married, and like everyone, we just assumed it would happen straight away. So you naively think, right, okay. And I guess part of that is due to the way that we're educated in school, because we're kind of hammered home, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant.
Don't get pregnant. Or if you look at a boy, you're going to get pregnant.
Don't get pregnant. And teenage pregnancy was frowned upon at my school as well. And so you just assume that it's super easy because of that, I think. And so we thought, yes, it's going to be super easy to get pregnant. And there was nothing that signified that it wouldn't be. And we tried for a few months, nothing was happening, and I started looking into it. So, and you have to try for about a year when you're under 30 before the NHS will look into it, because typically within a year, most people will be pregnant. If you're older, then it's 6 months, but under 30, it's a year. So we tried for a year. I went to the GP and they do all the usual tests. So they very much focus on your reproductive system. So they test your hormones, they look at your womb, etc. So we had all of that done, and they looked at the sperm quality as well. And everything came back normal. And then you're sent away to carry on trying because everything's normal. And so this carried on for a while. Eventually, we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility, and
which is helpful.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, it should be called, we don't know. We have got a reason, because obviously there's something that's stopping it, but the tests that they do haven't given us an answer.
Yeah.
So we were referred for IVF, and that was a massive shock actually at the time, because I had been thinking that the first thing we might do is something called IUI, which is not as invasive as IVF. And so for those people
that don't know what IUI is, that wasn't a term that I'd come across before. IVF is always like kind of the spoken about one. So what's IUI?
So IUI is where they monitor the woman's cycle to see where you are at. Then as you're about to ovulate, they get your husband's sperm, they clean it up, and they sort of pick the best ones, and then they
put them in a tuxedo.
Yeah, exactly.
And with a bow tie on.
Yeah, and then they put it in your womb. So then then they know that the sperm is it's got through the cervix.
There's any barriers to entry? There aren't any. They're given the best shot.
Yeah, and you're about to ovulate, and sometimes they'll do it with Clomid as well, but which is an ovulation induction drug. But that tends to be if you have issues with ovulation.
Right.
So I thought that might be the first step, because maybe there was a barrier. But no, we went for IVF. So we were referred for IVF. Now, along the time as well, I started looking into what I could do to support myself, because I'm not really someone who likes to sit back and let things happen. I like to sort of take ownership. So
and being overly medicalized in that, and IVF, for anybody who's been through IVF, it's a very medicalized process.
Yeah.
It is lots of needles, lots of kind of self-medication, lots of tracking and all of that sort of stuff. And it is really, really invasive.
Yeah.
So to take back some of the strength and the power over that process by a non-medical but effective way of boosting your body's chances is definitely something, even from a mindset point of view, is helpful, right?
Definitely. And like, because if you are struggling to conceive it, you feel really powerless, and you don't feel like you've got any control over your body, and that's often why women turn to nutrition, just to help support them, because it's something that you have control over. It's something that you can do to support yourself. So but I didn't massively get into it at that point. So I started to think about it. I created some recipes and just added bits in, because I was healthy. I was slim. Everyone always told me how healthy I was. So I didn't hugely look into nutrition, but I looked into what I could do to support my IVF cycle. And I also looked into stress relieving things as well, because I used to be a fashion buyer. I worked for a high street retailer. It was very stressful. Loved it. It was long hours.
Yes.
And so I went and had acupuncture, and that was just profound for me. So that was really the start of my wellness journey, I guess. And
it's interesting how acupuncture is now widely prescribed on the NHS, isn't it? I had acupuncture for some things, for pain management and what have you, right?
Pain, things like that. Yeah, so I had acupuncture, and I guess I was going for fertility and sort of stress, and I didn't really think about what other effects it might have. And the next period I had was pain-free, and that was quite a revelation, because I'd had very painful periods up to that point.
Right.
So I had like monthly agony where I'd take tablets and things like that, and hard to get through that day. And the next period was pain-free. So that was a bit of a wow, this is like, how the hell do needles have that impact? And that sparked an interest. And sort of cutting a long story short, I then went and ended up training as an acupuncturist, and I qualified as an acupuncturist alongside going through IVF as well. So I eventually left my job after a year of acupuncture studies, and that was when I was about to embark on IVF. And it gave me the time to really focus on my health, to spend more time exercising, to optimize my sleep and things like that. So really bringing in the lifestyle kind of things. And we were very, very lucky to have George from our first IVF cycle, and he's now 10 actually. So it was a long time ago now. But yeah, incredibly lucky. And then after having George, again, when I was pregnant with him, I wasn't massively into nutrition. I thought about it a bit, but and then between having George and starting trying for our next baby, I started to look at nutrition. And one of the first things I did was cut out sugar. Because I used to be a complete sugar monster. I think I've told you about this before.
You have told me about this before.
Yeah, so I was like a sugar. I loved cereal. Like that was my best friend. I would have Haribo. Like
there's never a bad time for cereal either, is it? It's like a quick go-to.
Exactly, and Haribo, never a bad time for that either. And you know, chocolates and all of that. So I had quite a sweet tooth.
Right.
So cut out sugar. Felt really good from doing that. So just much better energy, much more consistent mood and things like that. And we started trying for a sibling quite quickly because we knew of our previous struggles. We didn't think it would necessarily be easy. So when George was around 9 months, we started trying for a sibling. Tried for a year, nothing was happening. So we then went back for IVF again. And we had one frozen embryo left from our first cycle. And I had that put back on a natural cycle. So that's when they just monitor your cycle. They don't give you any drugs because my cycles were regular. Right. And then they just put it back at the right time or what they think is the right time in your cycle. So had that put back. It failed. So that one didn't work. We then had a fresh cycle of IVF, and I was fortunate enough to get pregnant, but that unfortunately then ended in a chemical pregnancy. And for those who don't know what that is, it's when the embryo starts to implant, you start to produce HCG, which is your pregnancy hormone, that you test on with a pregnancy test. And then about 4 days after the test, I started bleeding and had a negative pregnancy test. So that's a very early loss.
Yeah.
And that cycle, we didn't have any embryos in the freezer. So we then had to start all over again and have IVF again.
Right.
But incredibly lucky because I got pregnant with Alex and he's now 7. So it sounds like a lot, but I feel like all the people that I know and the women I work with and the men I work with is that actually I had a fairly easy time of it.
Yeah, there are some people who go through rounds and rounds and rounds of this, like highly invasive treatment and what have you. So with nutrition specifically, is the interesting thing, one of the things that I found in my own journey with understanding nutrition, understanding my health with regards to not fertility in my case, but one of the very interesting impacts of me considering what I'm eating, considering nutrition, as well as having the surgery and losing a significant amount of weight, was that my periods are now regulated and more predictable, less painful, much shorter. Whereas prior, when I wasn't watching what I was eating, I was a sugar monster, a wine monster, I was all of the monsters, with no regard. And again, for anybody that's watching the show, this isn't shaming anyone. Like, live your life, do what you want to do, but understand that the science of life is that you need to put the building blocks in your mouth in order to make sure that your body is working in a way that it's designed to. And the less processed way that we do that, the better your body can function, because it has less work to do. It's not as tired. There's not as much toxins that you're putting in there. That's just science, right? But in allowing myself to consider what I'm putting in my mouth more, allowing myself to consider what I'm eating and how I'm eating and the processing of food and all of that sort of stuff has had a direct impact on my cycles. So from a fertility perspective, I mean, my shop's shut now, so I don't want any more babies. I'm okay, thank you very much. I've got 3. I was very, very lucky that we were able to conceive naturally. Given that I was told when I was about 18 that I probably wouldn't ever conceive naturally because I had polycystic ovaries and fibroids, and I was told that it was going to be a problem. So to have 3 children naturally is how flipping heck. My body's an absolute like an insane piece of machinery. But if people are struggling, nutrition isn't a bad way to support all of the bodily functions working as they should. If I look at improving my nutrition, the weight loss is a byproduct. the blood pressure is now normal. The
Mm.
liver function is now normal. My periods are now considered not like literally a 28-day cycle, and it isn't a fix-all and a cure-all, but certainly my body's now functioning better. Now I'm putting better things into my body, and this is really what you're saying with the fertility journey, right?
Absolutely, and that just shows you the power of food, really, and good nutrition. And
Yeah.
I had a sort of similar experience. So my light bulb moment was after having Alex, I gave up dairy, and that's the only thing I changed at that point. And about 3 months later, I realised I wasn't having asthma anymore, and that was something that I'd suffered with since I was 5. And taking inhaler every day, being wheezy every day, and I suddenly said to my husband, "Oh my gosh, I don't have any wheeziness at all, and I haven't taken my inhaler. I don't have asthma anymore. I don't have an inhaler. I don't carry one, and that's gone from carrying one every day. So that was a light bulb moment, and similar to your sort of light bulb moments in terms of what you're eating and how that's affecting your body. It just shows you how powerful what we put in our bodies are, really.
It's so powerful. One of the things that I was learning about was the direct impact of omega-3 and omega-6. So omega-3 and omega-6 oils can only equally cohabit. You can't have more of one than the other. One causes or creates inflammation to help save the body, and the other creates stabilization. So it has to be really, really finely balanced. However, in our diet, certainly in a Western diet, it's very omega-6 heavy. So we're not getting enough omega-3, and this is causing all sorts of deficiencies, and as a result, all kinds of bodily issues, like functional issues within our bodies. So something as simple as understanding what has a high omega-6 content and what has a high omega-3 content, and making decisions based on that helps with on a cellular level how well your body functions, because everything, processed oils, particularly refined sugars, all of these things are so high in omega and through our food chain as well. So when we don't eat organically and we're eating food where the animals have eaten a high omega-6 rich diet, means that we're putting that high omega-6 rich food into our body, and then we're creating inflammation. And that's having a knock-on effect with fertility, which is why we're seeing infertility or fertility issues on the increase, which is why we're seeing all sorts of structural issues with our body, organ issues with our body happening because of these imbalances. So what's the theory with regards to the nutrition that you share and teach with your clients, and certainly within the book?
Yeah. So, well, it's different for everyone, but there's a foundation. So, like within the book, it's split into the 3 pillars of my, I guess they're my linchpins of my business. So, fertility, food, and life. So, the food section, and it starts with fertility, but we'll just quickly talk about the food section. So, that's really about.
I'm always here for the food, Charlotte. I'm always here for the food.
So that's about building a really strong foundation, understanding some of those concepts that you just talked about. So understanding that balance of omega-3 and omega-6. And I talk about that in the book because omega-3 is really important for fertility, for lowering inflammation in our bodies. And that has inflammation is like said to be the root cause of all illness, really.
Yeah.
So we talk about that. I talk about carbohydrates, which is an area that often people are confused about. I talk about fat as well. So other types of fat, because that's another area of confusion, and protein, and how, it's really important to get enough protein. And most of us actually aren't. We think we are, but we're not. So it's that chapter is very much about building that really strong foundation, educating yourself, understanding all these concepts. And I talk about how to build a healthy plate so that you can actually go away and you know how to construct that plate for yourself. I also have a pantry staples section, which really goes into detail in all the ingredients that are important and that I use in the book as well. So that people know what they are. If they come across an unfamiliar ingredient, they'll understand what it is, where they can buy it from. The fertility section is very much focused on all aspects of our health, because like I said earlier, when you go and see your GP, rightly they start to look at your reproductive system because we need to know if that's healthy, but they forget about everything else that's going on. And our body
and the reproduction might be a symptom as opposed to a root cause, right?
I see optimal fertility as a side effect of a healthy, happy body. It's more of a symptom rather than a sort of diagnosis, you know, because it's a sign. We should have optimal fertility. We're animals, you know, we should be able to conceive super easily. So if we can't, there's something else going on. So that fertility chapter, it really talks about other aspects of your health. So your gut health, liver detoxification, thyroid health, egg quality, sperm quality, and blood sugar balance, and how all of those things will combine to impact our fertility. And they might be different for different people, because we're all obviously different. We've got different genetics and we've been exposed to different environments. So that's about helping people to understand what might be going on for them. And then I give them the tools to be able to do that. So then there's a lifestyle section as well, because our lifestyle is incredibly important. You know, if we know that if we're stressed and tired, we find it very difficult to stick to our plan, our food plan, you know, because we're just craving that sugar, and we're wired to do that. So it's not a bad thing. It's just we need to support ourselves in these other areas. We've
got to set ourselves up to win, right?
Yeah, exactly,
if we're not doing these things, you're not setting yourself up to win. And we're in this very, you know, we want immediate results kind of environment. Interesting, we was talking about this yesterday. So I was at an event specifically speaking to the luxury market, luxury brands, people that work within the luxury industry, how that actually we've got to go backwards to go forwards with a lot of these things. So with luxury, for example, just to give a bit of a tenuous link to take us out of context to come back into context, you have these big luxury brands that have right at the very, very top level, their sustainable pieces, or the very, very expensive pieces, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 100,000 pounds. And then what they've done is they've diluted further down the line accessible pieces so that they can get their brand out there, but actually they're not sustainable. They're not, they're feeding our need to obtain immediately the thing that we want, instead of actually, you know, doing the work or saving up or investing or, you know, working on ourselves. And actually that's where we're at, where nutrition is concerned. We are served up lots of these quick fix things, sugar hits or what have you, when actually we need to be looking at that, the building blocks of how we're living, how much stress are we experiencing, how good are our relationships, how good is our emotional well-being, our mental health, as well as what we're putting in our mouths.
Yeah, exactly, because it's the foundation, really. It helps you to then prioritize your nutrition. So my lifestyle section talks about stress, sleep, movement, environment, which is really important where fertility is concerned, in terms of the plastics and things that we're coming into contact with.
Yes.
And chemicals that are in our personal care products and in our households. And then I also talk about mindset and how that's really important. And for me, this really isn't just a fertility diet. So I'm not promoting something that you do for a set amount of time. It's a lifestyle that I hope people will be inspired to continue forever, because
it's not just the fertility journey, is it? It's everything. It's life. It's not just your fertility. It's your kids' fertility, for example. It's the you know, the progression of the human race. Again, like if we talk about sustainability or going back to basics, if we go back to what we're designed to do, which isn't to be surrounded with plastics, not to be surrounded by things that shed into our water, not to be, you know, over medicalized. And there's definitely a place for medicine. We're not saying that within this context. There's definitely a place for medicine. But if we are not doing the things that are going to set us up for success, which is the things that we are naturally designed to do, eat unprocessed food, not be surrounded by, so, and we're all right saying this in this environment like that. But yeah, it's all of it. It's, you know, how much, you know, we're consuming artificial light even, or blue light on our phones. All of this sort of stuff has a knock-on effect to our biology. And thank you so much for being such a leading light. What are you excited about? So tell us about the book. Tell us about what's happening. How can we get it?
I have to tell you, I'm actually absolutely terrified. But
I know you are. You've been working on this for so long. So me and Charlotte have been working together for a long while now, and we've been through this book writing process just in the background, like holding some space for you in the background, and you've really cracked on with this. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so well, the whole thing it's 2 years really since I decided I wanted to write this book back in 2015. So that's when I got the idea, after I'd had Alex. And the Fertility Kitchen popped into my head, and I thought that would be an amazing book for people trying to conceive and wanting to improve their diet. So I've kind of pursued it relentlessly since then. And actually the whole sort of bringing it to life has been the last 2 years, where I'd kind of built my Instagram up to a decent following in order to get an agent. And then, so that happened in August 2020. And then in December 2020, we got the book deal. And then I spent the whole of last year writing the book, editing it.
Taking photographs and all of the, cooking all the things. You went to different kitchens, right?
Recipe testing, because the other half of the book is recipe. So it's really helping you to put that nutrition advice into practice, because that was so important for me, that it was practical, not just, you need to eat these nutrients and these are the foods.
Okay with the concept.
Yeah, it's like, how does that translate into real food, everyday eating, and delicious food as well? And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about delicious, quick, easy. I don't want people slaving for hours in the kitchen and feeling miserable about it. I want them to love their food, really enjoy it. And so half of the book is recipes, and that's over 90 recipes for people to hopefully love and enjoy. So I've got the book here. Here's the finished.
Mine hasn't arrived yet. I came in yesterday. I've not got it. I was so excited to hold it in my and when you shared with me just a very short while ago, like the book cover, just to see that in your hands after how hard you've worked on it is just. I'm so proud of you.
This picture was taken, so this was day 5 of the photo shoot. So I was absolutely knackered at this point. But the photographer was absolutely amazing. He made me feel really special. So, but yeah, so it's just honestly seeing your work in a book and something that you've been working on for so long, and it can help so many people, and then it's actually going to be published tomorrow, is just it's just unreal. So like this is one of the recipes. So that's I'm not very good at showing, but that's green shakshuka, really lovely. And actually that's not a hard dish to make. There's just like this salmon dish. So
I'm hungry.
I talk about so the things that we just talked about earlier, like eating more omega-3s. We need to get that from oily fish, and that's something that people don't often like to eat. So I make sure that I've put lots of oily fish recipes in that taste amazing. So like these salmon burgers, so they're Thai salmon burgers, and they're super quick and easy to make, and they're gorgeous, and they're great to have as like a snack in the fridge as well. So I'll make up a batch, have them for dinner, and then the rest of them will go in the fridge, and I'll just snack on them during the week. Exactly. And so we've got these tandoori skewers, so that's salmon again. So it's, I've just made sure that everything I'm recommending in the book, I've got a recipe that helps people to then put it into practice. And the other thing to point out is a lot of my recipes, it's scattered throughout the chapters, but I've got this master the art. And master the art is like a formula for that particular recipe. And what it does is, it's because I'm all about like people then enjoying cooking and starting to experiment themselves and really learn how to make that dish their own. So having that master the art gives them that formula so that they can then experiment with different flavors, different tastes, and things that they like to eat. Because then, if you're enjoying it, then that is going to be the key, really, isn't it? It's got to taste good, and if you think it tastes good, then that's the key to then sticking to it, really. And also there are a few, not huge amounts, but there are a few sweet recipes, just because we all need a little bit of sweetness.
Speak to it. Is that fudge?
That's fudge.
Whoa, I'm in.
It's so good. And the good thing about that is you can keep it in the freezer, so you can cut it up quite small, and then you just take a piece out every time you want to just really treat yourself. And that's again what I encourage is not this dogma diet. Like it's choosing a sweet recipe, taking the time to sit down, so you've made it, you get a cup of tea, and you mindfully enjoy it, and you're just going to love it so much more than if you're sat watching the telly and you're just stuffing a bag of sweets.
And you don't remember. You don't remember then what you eat.
And you miss out on the pleasure. So
that's a really interesting thing, again, from an eating perspective, and again, from my experience of having had surgery now and being on the other side of it, I can only eat a little bit at a time. So you bet your butt, if I'm going to be eating, I enjoy what I eat. I'm not just going to eat for eating's sake, because if I eat and I don't remember it, and then I can't eat again for a little bit. And I'm not suggesting that anyone goes out and gets surgery. But my direct experience of this is enjoying food again.
Yeah.
Has been a revelation with regards to food choices.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to, like, if I know that's going to be a lovely experience, and sitting down and having my breakfast is one of my favorite things to do, and really enjoying that process and sitting down and eating and all of that sort of stuff, it just adds something to your day. We're in a real passive relationship with food, like grab and go relationship. And we talk about stress levels and mental health, and actually mindful eating, taking that 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes in the day to enjoy what you're eating, is going to have not just the health benefits of what you're putting in your mouth, but your brain space. You're activating those pleasure senses in a different way, and that can only mean good things for your insides, right?
It definitely, and also it helps you to connect more with your family as well. So, like, you know, really making that ritual of eating up the table if you've got a table, and just, you know, sitting around it together, sharing your day with each other, rather than just being, you know, mindlessly sort of on your phone, not really listening, not paying attention. It really, you know, eating around the table is what humans have done for centuries, and it what connects us together, and it makes life much more enjoyable.
So, Charlotte, tell us what the plan is. Where can we get a hold of this book? Where can we see you? Like, tell us.
So I'm very active on Instagram. So that's kind of where I am. I do cook-alongs actually weekly on Instagram. So please do come along, cook along with me. I always share the recipe a week in advance. The book is available on Amazon and other bookstores, so Waterstones, Smiths, other places like that. So
you can actually walk into a bookshop and go and get this.
Get it. Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, we all love Amazon and it's great, but obviously, again, that's promoting that kind of consumerism that we talked about earlier, and that convenience lifestyle. But, you know, Amazon is quite great and helpful as well. It has its plus points. So it's on Amazon.
Yeah, but you can walk into a Waterstones and go and get a hold of this. This is so Charlotte's published this book with a traditional publisher, and has had a book agent and done things. So lots of us in this community, I've got books, myself included, and have gone sort of in a self-publishing or a co-publishing way. This is a traditional published book. The support of this book means that more people have an opportunity to get access to this kind of learning, so that we can become healthier as a wider community. More people can get to grips with their fertility journey in a way that's going to really support them through the process. And to be able to support you on this journey is an absolute, it's an honor and a privilege for me. You're going to be speaking at Be Inspired in September as well, right?
Yeah, very excited about that. Can't wait. That's going to be brilliant.
Taking to the stage and actually, and sharing this book in more ways, but having an opportunity for this to, go on like book listings, and for it to go in the media and all of this sort of stuff are the things that's your visibility job now, right?
Yeah. So I'm hard at work doing that. And obviously, like, fertility is a niche kind of area. But I have some publicists working with me to help me get it out there. But also, as an author, you still have to take responsibility and get yourself out there. So I'm on BBC Radio Berkshire tomorrow. I'm doing some cook-alongs next week. I'm doing lots and lots of little things and lots of articles and blog posts as well for brands that support me and that I love as well. And actually, if you do want to order the book, I have a pre-order competition running, and it actually ends tonight. So because the book's going to be published tomorrow, so you've got till midnight tonight to enter if you want to. And there's a fantastic bundle of prizes worth over £1,000.
Wow!
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's supplements, it's ingredients, it's self-care things. So there's like blue light blocking glasses, there's screen protectors, there's sleep mask, there's spices, protein powders. Like, honestly, anyone would love to I want the prize. I'd love it.
I love that. I want the prize.
I know. There's like bone broths. There's all sorts of wonderful things. So all you have to do is pre-order it and upload your a screenshot of your order to my publisher's website, and I can give you the link to share.
Perfect. And, you pop that in the hive for us as well.
Yes,
make sure that we can all get amongst it.
exactly. So then you might win that massive bundle of prizes. There's also a £75 voucher for Form Nutrition, which is a protein powder website that I really love. So yeah, it's a brilliant prize. And to be honest, I would buy it just for the prize, to enter.
Yeah, go and get the prize. And also everything that you share, like we said earlier on in the show today, everything that you share within the Fertility Kitchen can only help you with your nutrition for life, can only help you with your with incredible lifestyle choices. Your Instagram is such a beautiful Instagram to follow in terms of having, accessible recipes there, real inspiration, getting the book. I was just having a think. I probably work through about 7 or 8 staple meals every week. I very, very, very rarely sort of deviate. And so to have that inspiration there to hand is really helpful, with over 90 recipes, as well as, everything that you do on Instagram as well. Charlotte, we couldn't be prouder of you as a community. We're so excited for everything that this has been, all behind the scenes work up to this point, and you're at that precipice now of doing all of that important work in really in the foreground, where this message deserves to be and where you deserve to be. So Charlotte, you don't need luck, but you've got all of our love and all of our support, all of the hard work that you've got coming to you. And we will see you on that stage at Be Inspired on the 29th and 30th of September.
I'm looking forward to it, Dani, and thanks for chatting today.
You're more than welcome. That was the absolutely glorious Charlotte Grand with her book, The Fertility Kitchen, that is published tomorrow. You can get involved with that competition if you pre-order before midnight tonight. We're going to pop the details in the Hive, in the IATQB Hive. That's my free community group. You can find us on Facebook. If you just pop in search IATQB Hive, it stands for I am the Queen Bee, as are you, or the King Bee, or the Royal Bee. However it is that you identify, you are most welcome here with us, where we celebrate our successes, such as Charlotte's today, and also share our challenges so that we can help each other as well. Right. So coming up on Friday, I'm going to break down for you what I did and the things that I learned yesterday at the Luxury Plus Summit. We also have still got spaces to the Manchester Summer Swarm, which is going to be at the Malmaison in Piccadilly on the 4th of July. So I think we've got about 3 spaces left, and then we're sold out. So please do make sure that if you are wanting to come along, get into my DMs and I will give you the booking link. I've got a cheeky little discount code for £100 off if you want to come and get involved. The people that came to the one on Friday just gone will testify that we got a lot of really incredible work done, very exciting work done, helping those phenomenal people work on their next steps for the next 6 to 12 months, and re-engaging with that fire that they've got. Getting halfway through the year, the legs can start to drag a little bit. So really sort of injecting that motivation, that inspiration, ideas, bouncing off the people in the room, getting accountable with the people in the room. One of the really lovely things off the back of that swarm is that they are now in a WhatsApp group together, supporting each other, sharing ideas. Just phenomenal, really. And I cannot wait for as many of you as possible to come and get involved with the Summer Swarm, the final of our Summer Strategy Swarms, which is on the 4th of July. Announcements coming regarding the venue. I went to go and see our globally renowned venue on Monday to go and do our final checks before contracts are exchanged. I didn't want to announce that before that has happened, just in case. But it is a central Manchester location, easily accessible. There's hotels all around it. I cannot tell you until we've had that email through. But just know it's a biggie. It is a biggie. It's making me feel a little bit sick. You are definitely going to want to be in that room. It is our biggest ever. I don't know how we're going to get much bigger. Right, that's where we're at. And I don't mean in terms of audience size. We're still limited on audience size as it stands, unless we get a massive, massive big flurry. We've got about 100 tickets left in the room. We have space for some tables if anybody wants to host a table. Tables are £1,000 plus VAT for 8 people. So 8 people, £1,000 plus VAT. It's the most cost-effective way. You get 8 friends together. It's the most cost-effective way of attending Be Inspired on the 29th and 30th of September. More to come on that via your emails. More to come on the Fly Anyway Foundation. Some very exciting developments. A lot of things have been happening in the background whilst I've been toing and throwing up and down the country and what have you. Lots and lots and lots of information coming up and updates coming up for you very shortly. So apologies if we've been a little bit quiet. Lots of legislative, lots of form filling in and contract making and legal stuff that we've been working on in the background to make sure that we can safely bring in our business builders. But we are ready to match. I am actively looking for for ambassadors who are experts in brand and rebrand and also web development. So if you are an ambassador and they're your areas of expertise, please do make yourself known. I have a couple of business builders who are ready to fly and we're ready to match. So very, very excited for the Fly Anyway Foundation. We've been shortlisted for a number of awards as well. So hopefully next couple of weeks, I'll be able to announce that. Very exciting and big things happening in IATQB HQ. Strap in. We are on the roller coaster. We are in for a hell of a ride, you lot. Can't wait to share it all as it unfolds. I will see you on Friday for more Showing Up, Wising Up and Rising Up, where I'm going to fill you in on the networking that I've been doing over the past few weeks and give you some top pointers for extending your network in ways that you may not have thought about before. All right, my darlings, have a good one. Go and rip it up this week. I will see you on Friday at 9:30 for more Showing Up, Wising Up and Rising Up. Take care.